Analyze.
We analyze, yes, that's the first step. But when we present, do we just present data and present facts? Or do we present something else?
Conclusion?
Conclusions. Yes, we present the takeaway. This is what the data means. This is what it means to you. This is my opinion on how this is valuable to us in this market environment. So even though I say that multiple times, it's very tempting to fall into this trap, and it's just a chance for us to practice this. So start thinking about what that data might be, and at the end of the class next week, I'll give you maybe 15 or 20 minutes just to polish things up, meet with your team, say, all right, this is how we're going to use the stuff we just learned, and this is the conclusion we want to present, and this is who we want to present it. We want us to all come up and present. We want one person to present. Finalize those types of things. So maybe at the break today, you can form teams of 3, and between now and next week, just spend a little bit of time looking at that data, think about how you would present that conclusion. Any questions on that? All right, so let's get started with the material for tonight. So I'm going to quickly go over the thesis essay assignment, which is going to be due next week, a written conclusion assignment. And I'm going to just remind you of how that's going to work, see if you have any questions. We'll get that out of the way. And then we will get into the meat of our class tonight, which is preparing for these individual presentations. Before we start that, I will remind us the important things we talked about 2 weeks ago, that when we present, we want to have an objective, we want a purpose, something we're trying to do, accomplish. If we don't have a purpose, then we're just spitting words, and we don't want to stand up here and just say words. We talked about how that can help us with anxiety. We talked about how we can, once we have an objective, use conclusions to accomplish that objective. We'll do the presentations. We will critique each other based on the conclusion framework that we talked about last time. And then we will also start to think a little bit about the physicality of presentations. I found we don't need to spend the whole 2-3 hours just on conclusion stuff. We can talk a little bit about eye contact, a little bit about body language, think about how we can use that to make improvements. And then I will take you through some exercises to think about body language. Think about eye contact, think about hand gestures, and see how that helps us in our attempt to make a powerful presentation and present a conclusion to our classmates. We'll do some of those exercises. I've cleared out a little bit of space, sort of. To do those, you're going to have to be a little patient how it's going to work. And I will, throughout that process, probably have people come back up and try your presentation again and see how the new stuff we've incorporated works with that. Okay, so real quickly, let's review the thesis subheading format and make sure you don't have any questions as you prepare for your written assignment, which is due next week. I talked about this thesis subheading format to present a concise business essay. There are a number of components to this, and it all came down to a clear, powerful written document that I want you to practice writing. The first go you'll have is next week, and you'll have a couple other opportunities to use this same format. I talked about how this is clear visually. When you open this up, you see a title at the top, which gives you a frame of reference. You also see some bolded subheadings, which tell you a little bit about where your writer is going. When you look further at this, you'll see a thesis paragraph at the start, which contains a thesis statement. The thesis is the central idea, the conclusion, the takeaway that you're going to use going in this essay. This thesis statement will have a couple interesting characteristics. It will contain the wording of your subheadings. It will contain them in parallel structure and in predicted order. What do I mean by parallel structure? Can anyone remind us?
Like noun or verb noun.
Verb, noun. They will have the same part of speech. In this case, it's flatten, consolidate, deploy, followed by a noun. Org structure, departments, electronic notebook. They will also be in predictable order in your thesis statement. What does that mean? Predictable order. When you read your thesis statement, they are going to be in a predictable order as it relates to the rest of your essay. What do I mean by that?
Whatever you mentioned first in the beginning, doing the first thing you mentioned.
Exactly. So my subheadings are flatten, consolidate, deploy. In my thesis statement, flatten, consolidate, deploy. I'm not going to confuse my reader by putting them in a different order, and I'm going to make it easier on my reader by using that parallel structure. So it's just going to jump out at my reader. My reader is going to see the title, have some sort of context, skim probably the subheadings, see where I might be going with this essay. The reader is going to dig a little deeper. She or he is going to see a concise thesis statement with a couple of sentences to put this in context. And then, as the reader gets deeper and deeper into the essay, she or he is going to read the subheading paragraphs, which are going to have a topic sentence at the start of each of them. What is a topic sentence? Topic sentence. It's a topic sentence. Okay, topic sentence is like a little mini thesis for the subheading paragraphs. The topic sentence is the main idea of each paragraph. So the first sentence of this paragraph is going to tell me what the rest of the paragraph is about. So there's so many different tools to guide your reader to let he or she know what you're trying to say. We've got the title, puts it in context. We've got the subheadings in predictable and parallel structure. Predictable order and parallel structure. We've got the topic sentence, which is the main idea of each of these paragraphs. Now this gives you a little bit of an opportunity to maybe get a little more complicated, a little more in-depth as you write these subheading paragraphs. And it just reinforces your main point. Shows your reader that you're the person who can take data, who can look at a lot of different topics, and blend that all together in one meaningful, concise essay. I mentioned that a well-written essay is very easy for me to grade. It takes me maybe 30 seconds to recognize, it takes me 2 minutes to grade. The thing that takes me the longest is just writing a good job and then putting 10 out of 10 on the blackboard. Now, that's important to you, not just because you'll get 10 out of 10, but because of that clarity. Because when you send a memo like this to someone else, they will immediately know what you're talking about. They will immediately know what you're trying to say, and they will recognize you as the valuable person who can consolidate that data and present the important conclusion or thesis concisely. And they'll say, wow, I want this person on my team. Any questions about that? Yes?
Question about the essay. What are we writing the essay on?
Whatever you want. Could be business related, some people do something less business related. Let me tell you about my favorite, the important themes in my favorite movie. I've gotten that one before. As long as it's a clear, concise conclusion and I can see where you're going right away, that's fine. Any other questions? Yes? Good?
So just 4 paragraphs, something similar to this?
Yeah, I would say 2 or 3 subheadings. Any more than that may get a little complicated. All right, so that's your written essay, which is going to be due for next week. Okay, so then let's get ready for these presentations we're going to make tonight. I mentioned this idea of an objective. Can someone refresh? What did I mean when I said objective, and how does it help a presenter? What is an objective? How does it help us? Fatih, want to take a shot? Objective, Danielsa. What is an objective?
What it's about?
No, I would say no. This objective is not what it's about. That might be the subject or the topic. What is an objective?
Why you want to do it?
Yeah, what you're trying to accomplish as a presenter. I'm trying to give you this information. or I'm trying to persuade you to invest. I'm trying to calm you down so you don't sell all your stock. I'm trying to convince you that we should hire this candidate. So I have a purpose when I stand up here. And I mentioned last time, if you don't have a purpose when you're making a presentation, then I would suggest maybe you really shouldn't be giving that presentation. No one wants to hear you stand up and just say words. Think about what you're trying to accomplish with them. I also mentioned that having an objective forces you to engage with the audience, forces you to try, monitor, adjust. So if I have an objective that I'm going to accomplish, I have to try to accomplish it. I'm monitoring. I look into your eyes. Are you with me? Are you nodding along? Yes, then I'm going to keep going. Are you giving me a confused look? Right, then I'm going to slow down and I'm going to explain some things. It creates that engagement with your audience. I also mentioned how this helps with anxiety management. When we get nervous, we often think about ourselves being judged, and we tend to focus more on the words, the graphs. So anxiety causes us to worry about how we're being judged, us. It makes us look inward and makes us just try to focus on getting our words right and getting through the speech. Now what if instead of doing that, we weren't so worried about how we were being judged? We instead were focused about, are we accomplishing our objective? Are you understanding? Are you persuaded? Are you investing? What if we were focused instead of ourselves on our audience? Also, what if we didn't care so much about getting the words right? What if maybe we made a mistake on the graph and that's fine? That's okay. I'm more worried about whether or not you are persuaded, you are convinced, you are informed. Hey, how you doing? That often can decrease our anxiety because it takes our focus off of ourselves and reminds us that the presentation is about you all. We talked about how we can take this objective and formulate conclusions that are going to help us accomplish that objective. Just as I went over a minute ago, you're not the person who just lists data. You're the person who formulates a conclusion. And that's what you want to do when you're giving a presentation. All right, the conclusion is this pipeline is a bad investment, so my objective is to convince this company not to invest. We're going to support those objectives with facts, proof, premises, and we're going to bring them all together with logical conclusions. I mentioned some presentation techniques you can use to present conclusions, verbally and non-verbally. Verbally is fairly straightforward. I just reminded you of some simple language you can use to say what is important in your presentation. Based on this data, the conclusion is. What we can tell from this, what we take away, the interpretation. These are very important guideposts for your audience. You may be up here, you may be nervous, you may be talking fast, but if you can just throw in some of these terms, it can help guide your audience. Non-verbally, pause. You might pause before your conclusion, you might pause after your conclusion, you may decrease your rate of speech, talk in a more casual tone, a non-verbal cue to let your audience know something important is coming. Relaxed posture, stiff shift in movement, visual aid, summarize the premises. Presenting premises, you can do it verbally, source facts, informed opinions. There was one, I think, interesting thing I talked about with presenting premises non-verbally, what I call a presentation motif. Some sort of recurring physical action or word you might use as you go through your points. It could be as simple as point 1, point 2, point 3. Just that nonverbal action guides your audience through and also lets them know that you're just listing evidence. You're not getting to the conclusion. Okay. Any questions about that review? So let's watch each other's presentations and let's critique each other based on that conclusion framework. And think about how effectively this person is giving us a conclusion. And then we'll keep an eye on the body language, eye contact stuff. And I will add that a little bit as we get into class. All right, so, let's see, let me refresh names. What's your-
Maxine.
Maxine, got it. Amanda? And Letitia? What's your last name, Letitia?
Hackney.
Hackney with an H, okay. There's 2 Letitias in class. And one wasn't here last week and is not here tonight. So, H. Letitia, Hackney. Letitia, Amanda, Maxine. Elsa, David, Wanda. It's Yoke? With like a G sound? Gyoke. Gyoke. And Fatu. Okay. Yes.
Orlando. You said Armando.
Sorry, Orlando. Got it.
Want to make sure.
Orlando. Got it. Sorry about that. Okay. All right, great. So, whoever wants to go first, excuse me, Maxine. Okay, Letitia wants to go first.
I like going first.
Think we can get a volunteer to go second? All right. Orlando. And Amanda can go there. You can wait until the garbage is, let's go. Right there, so,
Okay.
if you're comfortable.
So my presentation, well, good evening, everyone. My presentation is on motherhood. I'm a first-time mother. My son's name is Montana. He was born August 19, 2015. And after having him, I have concluded that a mother's job is never done. You have to make many carefully thought out decisions to keep them safe. One of the first decisions I had to make for him was choosing formula. Before having him, I didn't think it was that hard to choose a formula, but now that I see that there's an array of brands, and then once you pick a brand, you have to pick which formula. And you start out with the regular formula, and afterwards you find out they might be sensitive to it, so you buy the sensitive brand. The second decision I had to make was deciding on vaccines. I did a lot of research before giving him a vaccine. Each couple of months they have to get a certain amount of vaccines, and you can choose whether you want to follow the schedule that the doctor proposed, or if you want to take them a week or another week. And I also consult with my friends and family who just had kids to see what research that they found and things about the vaccines. And the third decision that I had to make was on baby shampoo and body wash. Because recently Johnson & Johnson stated that they may have chemicals in their body wash that can cause cancer. So we had to do research on which body wash to wash them with, and found out that a lot of chemicals don't even have to be listed on the bottles. So that's another hard decision. So I concluded that a mother's job is never done, because there are many decisions to be made to keep your little one safe. But in the end, it's rewarding to see the little smile every day.
Excellent, Letitia. You can go ahead and have a seat while we throw out some comments. Comments for Letitia? So what did we think of her conclusion? Was her conclusion clear?
Yes.
Yeah, I think she said at the end, in conclusion, so that was clear. I don't think she said that at the beginning though, did she?
She did.
Yes.
She did? She said it? My conclusion is going to be that okay. Okay, all right, so how do we like that conclusion and how she supported it?
Should I go support?
Yeah.
She lists the reasons why motherhood, like nonstop, keep on going.
Okay. All right. It didn't move me as a powerful conclusion. I'm trying to get my head around why. Maybe because I think there's so many things about being a parent, and the 3 examples you gave seemed a little bit random, and I feel like there could have been 3 more powerful things that you had chosen. But that's honestly really not the. There's something else I don't like about the way you formulated your conclusion. I wanted to. Maybe it's because it wasn't necessarily valuable to us. It was just kind of an anecdote about parenting, and I hope you don't mind. I'm just trying to be constructive about how we can think about it. So that's my thought. That it wasn't something that we didn't like perk up and say, this is something we're going to that's going to enlighten us in terms of that. Yes.
Doesn't it depend on the audience you're talking to, though?
Sure.
I mean,
sure.
she could be talking to new mothers or expecting mothers, possibly.
Yes. Okay. So, all right. So, how do you think they would receive that conclusion, Maxine?
Well, that I need to look into, number one, the first thing that stuck out to me is I need to look into the products I want to use with my child, or on my child.
Okay.
Right, because of the risks,
Okay.
cancer risk. The second one would be the
Well-
vaccines. Get more educated on the vaccines as opposed to just doing them. What are the pros and cons?
Okay. Good. I think maybe that helps me think a little bit more critically about this. So there was the vaccines, there was the shampoo, and what else? Oh, and choosing the formula. Okay, so maybe her conclusion was and could have been, let me tell you about 3 things that are important to the safety of your child. Okay, these are critical decisions. You may not have known that in shampoo, they don't put the actual formulas, they don't put the ingredients on that could cause cancer. All right, so that's one thing that's very important for you to think about. Also, we need to think about formula, or she could have started at the beginning. My conclusion are there are 3 things that are key for you to think about that you may not think about. Formula, vaccines, and shampoo. So let me tell you about the problems with those that you need to be aware of. I think that would have brought a different level to this presentation. What do you all think? All right. Good. Okay. Next, Orlando.
Good evening, class. My name is Orlando Gomez. I'm here to talk about either to lease or to buy a car. Now, leasing or buying a car is something very personal, something that isn't for everyone. So next time you decide to lease or to buy a car, you have to make sure you have everything lined up as your preference and what you're willing to spend. However, leasing and buying a car is a dollar and cents question, which means every dollar and every cent counts. So you have to take that into consideration. Now, we're all here to further our education, and for many of us, it's for different reasons, which is why leasing is a better option. There's 3 things you should know about leasing that makes it better than buying a car. 1 is maintenance, 2 is lower cost, and 3 is the ability to change cars every 3 years. Now, for maintenance, your car maintenance is very expensive. So now when you lease it, you have the ability to get a free car maintenance for your car up to 2 years, or the first 4 oil changes and tire rotations. Now, for low cost, is that when you buy a car, it comes from the suggested retail price from the automaker. You're paying that car off within 5 years. So when you lease it, you're paying the car value for the first 2 years, which is why leasing it's a little more affordable than actually purchasing a vehicle. And the third is the ability to change cars. Now, when you purchase a car, that car can last you all the way until you run into the wheels. Problem is, if you live in New York City, the roads here are very, very bad, as we all know, if you do drive. Now, with leasing a car, You have a car that you can always take to the dealership, a car that always has guarantee, warranty, a car that can last you a pretty long time, well, at least for the first 2 or 3 years of the lease, which will make your time more valuable to other things you can do, and you won't waste your time at the mechanic shop, waiting online and putting more money out of pocket. So what we take from this is that eventually leasing will save you more money and time, because you don't have to worry about the nuances of an old car. And the nuances can be everything from your car breaking down to you having to pay extra money for oil change and so on and so forth. So before you decide to lease or to buy a car, think about the maintenance, the low cost, and the ability to change your car every 4 years. That's why leasing is a better option.
Excellent, Orlando.
I don't think that was 2 minutes though, right? It has to be like 2 minutes exactly. I kind of feel like I went a little fast.
I don't know, was anyone timing?
No.
Okay, so that was more than 2 minutes.
Yeah. All right, awesome. Comments for Orlando?
I think he did great.
That's good.
Yeah, he didn't read too much, right? No, he didn't.
Just kinda glanced.
Right, and, had good points.
Good.
Eye contact,
Good eye contact, effective use of the outline.
right.
Yeah, I think that's fine. Comments on his conclusion and the way he presented it? Was his conclusion effective, Amanda?
Yes, but I think it was also one-sided. So it showed more about like you leaning towards the lease.
Okay. So he didn't go over advantages of buying.
Yeah.
He just
It
went
was
over
more towards the
advantages
lean
of
of
leasing. Okay. I'd
Yeah,
say
I thought of that, I thought about that when I was thinking about this. So I was saying to myself, if I list any, advantages of buying, might kind of contradict what I'm saying about leasing.
Yeah.
Because
Uh-huh.
personally, buying might be a better option, but, just to pick one side, I kind of just all focused
Uh-huh.
on leasing rather than leasing versus buying so much.
Yeah, I know, maybe to Amanda's point, if you could have tied it in at the end of each point to buying. So, and I think you did with the maintenance
Mhm.
one. You said, so instead of spending, a lot of time in maintenance, you just take it to that. So that's the other side of the coin,
Kind
is
of
buying.
reference how buying is a disadvantage, reference why buying does have its disadvantages too.
Well, yeah, so each point, why it's better to lease, and then conclude it with, and it's better. This is the great thing about it, but not only is it great, it's better than buying.
Got it.
And maybe you could reinforce that with the other two. So this is the great thing about it, and this is why it's better than buying. Great thing about it, and this is why it's better than buying. So, yeah, all right, good. Good. All right, I thought it took Orlando a minute, or it took a little while to get to his conclusion. So I think you might have lost a little bit of an opportunity to just dive straight at it. Yeah, I think this would lend itself to just diving straight at it. I want to tell you why leasing is better than buying, and I'm going to give you 3 reasons. 1, 2, 3. And then we know exactly where you're going, and we're eager to learn those 3 reasons. We're like, wow, we're going to really get something out of this, and it's going to be those 3 things. I think I understand why you talked a little bit about the context at the beginning, and that's fine. But I don't know. I would have liked to see you jump straight for it. Anyone have any thoughts on that? Did you appreciate the 30 seconds or so at the beginning of or Maxine liked it?
Yeah, kind of
All right.
personalized it.
Personalized it a little bit. All right. Someone with less of an agenda jumping at us, maybe. Okay. Good. There was a little shifting and swaying back and forth. Did anyone notice that with his body movement? Yeah, we'll think when we do some of our exercises later how we can stabilize, and I think that's going to make a difference. We'll do some body language exercises, and then we'll get you back up there and see how that makes a difference.
Okay.
All right, Amanda.
Hello class.
My conclusion is employees should be able to work from home. Well, in most cases, it can't be for like manufacturing companies, but for other employees, you should be able to work remotely. I believe it benefits both the employer and the employee. It reduces cost, it increases productivity, and it also creates happy employees. So it reduces costs by saving money on utilities, rent, phone bills. You can also, I guess, outsource your IT services. It increases productivity while not having the hassle for to run to the train. And a Penn State study showed that U.S. employees call out less when they are able to work remotely, because sometimes you just say you're sick, but you're not really sick. You don't want to travel to work. So, and it also produces happy employees because they feel more valued, they feel trusted, they feel like they can work, from home, and you trust them with, certain information, inside information. So overall, I believe employees should be able to work from home.
Nice, awesome. Comments for a minute?
She makes some good points. I feel that if you have the option to work home, you actually wouldn't call out as much. I do believe that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're already home. You can't say, I'm sorry, I'm gonna stay home today. Because you could say, I'm not gonna work today, right? Yeah. Other comments? All right, so Maxine, how'd you like her straightforward attitude?
Well, for that in particularly, that's awesome. You gotta go at it to the board, the board members and the execs, and just, this is what we want.
Yeah, that was good, it was clear. You knew exactly what we were gonna get out of that presentation and where she was going with it?
Right from the beginning.
Yes. How did you like her use of notes? How did that play into her effectiveness? Did she handle the notes well? Is there something she could have done better with that?
She looked like she was peeking. That's the term. As opposed to just having it straight like this, it's like you were almost trying to
Putting it
cheat, but we
behind.
know you have it, no.
Oh, okay. So, alright, so maybe give a sense of peaking. I thought she was right in the middle in terms of the effectiveness. Could have been much, much worse. And it was strong the way that she gave us good eye contact, and she didn't use it all the time. But I did get a little distracted by it. And I also felt like this content was simple enough that you could have talked to us more.
Yeah.
Those 3 points, those 3 main reasons, I wanted you to have those memorized. Because you're the person that's trying to convince me of this thing, and if those points are meaningful enough to you to memorize them and be able to talk casually about them, I think that would have increased the power of your presentation. What do you all think? Yeah, so just a note to keep in mind. Any other comments? You okay?
She's pretty good.
Pretty good? Okay, good. Good, excellent. Let's go into the next person. Volunteer? Okay, David, thanks.
Good evening, everyone. David Somers, for those of you who don't know me. I will be presenting my conclusion, which is on internships and how they're beneficial for successful companies, and they're also beneficial for students to get into an internship to gain valuable work experience. So for students to get into an internship, it is beneficial. The first benefit for a student is that they gain valuable work experience that they can put on their resume for potential employment opportunities. They also have the ability to network with potential employers and business associates that they may work with someday in the future. And they also get a real-world work experience where they could see if they like a particular field. They also get experience with that company to see whether or not they actually want to pursue further employment with that company, or if they want to go somewhere else with their career. For companies, it is also beneficial. There's 2 articles I read. One was from CNN, and another was from Forbes. And they both agreed that successful companies utilize internships to gain valuable perspective from a low investment, low risk employee and resource. And I can speak from personal experience. I work for a utility company in engineering, and we consistently hire year-round interns to work on very complex engineering projects. And we just recently wrapped up a project in engineering where we had interns do most of the research on. And we actually found and are projecting a savings from this project due to a business practice improvement of $10 million annually per year that we're projecting to save due to a project that interns did most of the research on. The articles that I referenced earlier, they also spoke about a study that was recently conducted about businesses that had interns, and they actually hired 70% of the interns that they had working at their companies. They had a 70% success rate of hiring those interns for full-time employment. So in conclusion, I think that successful businesses should do internships, and interns, students that are looking for internships can benefit from the value of the work experience for that. Thank you.
Excellent, David. Comments for David?
It's good.
I think it's
Good.
Any
That's
notes?
Good. What was, how can we articulate what was good about?
Like how he referenced CNN in the article.
Okay.
Kind of use that, to back up what he was saying, made it more powerful.
Yeah. Yeah. He had, I think, his 3 clear points. Renew his conclusion. Yeah, this was a good example of a clearly presented conclusion with strong support. Yeah, how did you all like that? Were you conscious of the fact that he was doing that? Like the clear conclusion with the points? Was this, let me just reflect on this as what we're trying to accomplish in this class, in this material, the conclusion material. Have you seen, besides this class, have you seen presentations that are that succinct with their conclusion? So what do you think? If you haven't seen that so much before, Orlando, do you think that's a better?
I think it's
Format.
better because you keep everyone more focused and kind of understood exactly what he was talking about.
Yeah, I agree. That's why I teach this format. Any other comments? You looked a little nervous. Did you feel nervous, David?
A little, yeah.
Okay, I wanna revisit that when we do some eye contact exercises, because you had such great information. I think some eye contact will help you relate to your audience a little bit more and relax a little bit more. Your eye contact wasn't bad, it was just a little bit sporadic, and I think that could be a way to calm you down and just remind you how important what you're saying and how valuable what you're saying is. Any other thoughts for David? Okay, excellent work. Oh, go for it, Maxine.
Hello everyone, I'm Maxine Raymond, and what I want to talk to you about today is the glass ceiling and women in the IT industry. I'm just going to read an excerpt for you real quick. Women have been active participants of the workforce and contribute to the economy for many years. And according to the U.S. Census, 51% of women actually are working, and it's helping with the economic flow within the industry. What I would like to do is actually cover 3 parts to understand and overcome the limitation. I want to talk about what the definition of glass ceiling is, the issues that we're having within, or the representation of women in the IT field, and how we can overcome this barrier. Okay? So what is a glass ceiling? Glass ceiling is defined by Webster's Dictionary as an intangible barrier in a hierarchy that prevents women or minorities from obtaining upper level positions. Sorry. So represented women in IT. women in IT are not taken seriously. Our strategies, our product development is really overlooked a lot from the male counterparts in the corporate industry. Okay? It's a false sense that women can manage job, home, and children simultaneously. Sorry. So in conclusion, what I recommend is the provision in giving young females more access to computers at an early on age, give them more exposure to mathematics and science. Women or young girls nowadays, or for as long as I know, are more pushed towards doing secretarial, administrative work, executive type of work, executive assistant work, nursing, and they should be exposed a little bit more to the computer industry, IT industry. And I think they open up that field a little bit more for young girls. It'll open up a vast opportunity for women, pushing us up further in the IT management industry chain.
Excellent, excellent, good job. Comments from Maxine? Interesting topic, very valuable topic. Yeah, so what was her conclusion? What's Maxine's conclusion? Amanda?
To be able to get past the glass ceiling that women have in the IT industry.
All right, can you say that one more time?
How women can get past the glass ceiling in the IT
Okay,
industry.
okay, so the conclusion was, this is how women can get past the glass ceiling. Okay, and what, and so how is it? How can women get past, based on her speech, how do women do that?
If they're
Being
exposed,
exposed.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Being exposed early on.
Okay, all right, good. So, I guess I feel like there was so much interesting stuff at the beginning of her speech. And there's no right or wrong way to do this, but on the one hand, I want to say that I think I would agree that was the conclusion, that this is how women can overcome the glass ceiling, and it's a matter of being exposed early. So I think if that was her conclusion, then it was distracting. There was a lot of distracting stuff before that.
Actually, I had 3 more parts, but I kind of skipped over it out
Oh,
of
three
nervousness.
more parts with
With my conclusion on how to.
on how to. Okay. And it was, okay, good. Let's come back to that. It was a little unclear where you were going at the beginning. You said, I want to talk today about the glass ceiling. And I thought, oh, I wonder if this is just going to be about the topic of the glass ceiling. And you said a few more sentences and you said how to overcome that. But it wasn't clear that that was going to be the thrust of your speech. So I think, thinking about this before you begin your presentation, the important thing here is teaching this audience how to overcome the glass ceiling, and there are 3 points, 3 ways that we can do this. And maybe, if you had made that your focus, a number of things would have happened. 1, you wouldn't have forgotten 2 of the other points, because I need to teach these students how to overcome the glass ceiling. And I need to make sure they understand point 1, point 2, point 3. As you're preparing, as you're standing up here, my objective is to teach you how, and I've got 3 main tools to use to teach you how. And I think if you had prioritized that in your mind, that was your conclusion, and that's what you're that was your objective and your conclusion, then I think that would have been powerful. Orlando?
Yeah, I think once she got rolling, you kind of, I don't know if it was passion behind that or not, but, I understood her more. When she started, not looking at the card, just talking to us, I understood it more.
Yeah, that's a good point. So we want her perspective. And maybe some things that will resonate with her experience that we say, oh wow, she did it, I can as well. Or, you know, if I'm a woman, I can still help support women who are overcoming this, or I have, you know, issues myself that are related to this, yada yada. And this is related to all of us somehow, some way. And the more we can hear her experience, might be better. Good, any other comments? I noticed a little bit of pacing. We may address when we do some movement exercises. And we'll see if we can tighten that up and change that after we do some creative stuff. Okay, next presenter. Bati?
Me?
Go for it.
Hi everybody, my name is Fatih Yilmaz. Today I would like to explain why we should live in Jersey instead of New York City. We have a couple reasons for that. First of all, actually I got 3 reasons for that. First, cost of living. Second, taxes. And third one is quality of life. Let me explain first, cost of living. If you live in Jersey City, you don't have to pay $2,000 for windowless apartment. With the same price, you should live in luxury condo in Jersey City. And also Jersey City, PATRE makes more accessible to Jersey City, most of part Queens and Brooklyn. For example, if you take the PAT train from Jersey City to Manhattan, it takes like 15 minutes. But the other parts of Brooklyn and Queens, it takes probably at least 20-25 minutes. And also, cabs are cheaper than the Manhattan. And the second one is taxes. If you live in New York City, you have to pay high taxes, which are city tax, state tax, and sales tax. City tax not in Jersey, and state tax 4% in New York City, in Jersey City 1.4%. And sales tax 8 point in New York City, in Jersey City like almost 7%. And also gas prices 20% cheaper than New York City. And the last one is quality of life. Northern Jersey, according to Forbes magazine, Northern Jersey one of the 10 safest places in the US. And also, however, New Jersey great education for the kids, and which is highest high school graduation in the US. Thank you for your attention.
All right, good stuff. Comments for Fatih? Letitia?
I like it. He made me want to do it.
Okay,
Ugly.
we've got at least one potential Jersey convert.
Yeah, I'm in Jersey.
Yeah,
I like
cheaper, safer, go ahead,
I
Orlando.
like the comparison, how you said it takes 25 minutes from New Jersey to Manhattan compared to Brooklyn or Queens, which can take longer.
Yeah. Yeah.
I also, there was more, the conclusion wasn't repeated at the end.
Oh, did you want to repeat it at the end?
Or at least that's how the method was.
I guess the method is to be clear about your conclusion and use some of these techniques. Yes, you're right, and there was also this graph I showed you that when we get to the end of a presentation, our audience is focused on us, and it's an opportunity to cement our conclusion. But that's, this is a real life exercise here, so you tell me, did he need it or did he not need it?
It was like a little bit like a cliffhanger, because I was expecting
Yeah.
the sentence, so like when he left it like that, I was like, oh, and it was over.
Okay, okay, so it would have been powerful to just reinforce it. Especially because you got into some complicated stuff with taxes, numbers, blah, blah, blah. So let me wrap it back up to my conclusion and remind you that Jersey is better. It's better on the other side of the river.
It was like exciting, and then at the end it was like,
You left us hanging. I'm a convert now, just remind me to be a convert. Great point, excellent. Any other thoughts? How was his eye contact? he was looking at the audience consistently. Did anyone notice where he was looking the whole time? Yeah? Was he looking at you the whole time? Was he looking at you the whole time? He was looking right at me pretty much most of the time. Did no one else notice that? Did it make you feel left out? No? Okay.
Okay, you picked a good topic, so it's kind of like, even if he wasn't, looking at you, you just kind of just wanted to listen anyway.
Alright,
That's how I
okay, good. Okay, alright, so I would suggest it could have been more powerful, and you might have felt even more included if he had spread the eye contact out a little bit. And you might wonder, like, why is he looking at this person all the time? Is he trying to get this guy to move to Jersey? Or is this the decision maker and I'm not as important? Those things could come up. And after we do some eye contact exercises, we'll have you come back up and try that, and we'll see if we think it makes a difference. Alright, so I think we just have two. Alright, you okay? You go for it?
Hi everybody, this is Gökay. Today I'm going to talk about whether we should invest to social media or not. Nowadays, more than 3 billion people use social media around the world. Social media is a platform and strategy that will work for you and your business. Now, I'm not here to force you and your business into the awesome world of the social media, but extremely important to be aware of the benefits which will bring to your business. First, increase brand awareness. Second, interacting with customer. Third, gaining the competitive advantage. Let me break down my main 3 points. First, increasing brand awareness. When your business activate on social media, which assists to potential customer know they would rely on you. If anything's happen, they would easily contact you and your business. Therefore, it helps to your business developing relationship with your customer. Second, social media allows you to interact with your customer. 62% of people are more likely to engage with companies that use social media, and 15 million consumers go to social media before making a decision to buy something. So, having a social media account allows you to interact with your customer. So, the final reason, social media lets you gain the competitive advantage. If you use correctly, social media can help you boost your search ranking, provide better customer service, and connection with new business partner. In conclusion, as you know, investing in social media is so significant for you and your business because of social media helps to raise brand awareness. It allows you to communicate with your customer. Finally, it helps you to take the competitive advantage. Social media is a necessity, not a luxury. Thank you for your attention.
Excellent. Comments for Gökay?
I didn't think he had to repeat the 3 at the end. I think just the overall conclusion could have been fine.
Okay. So Amanda, you, instead of listing, what was his conclusion? Let's start with that, Amanda.
That social media is important for a company.
Okay, good. And then there are 3 reasons why social media was important for a company, and Amanda wanted just to hear for those reasons, social media is important for a company, rather than listing all 3. So what?
Again, because he
Yeah.
already did it.
Because he already did it, so it was repetitive, monotonous. We didn't need it. What do you think,
Maybe if
Max?
you would have added a little more fluff between once you listed it in the conclusion, then it would have sounded a little better.
Okay, so, alright, so maybe the comment is, he said my conclusion is, he started out, my conclusion is a business should invest in social media. He gave us 3 reasons, and then went straight to, so my conclusion is for those 3 reasons, and it was just kind of a mirror image of the same thing. Okay, yeah, so let's see, how can we avoid that? One thought I had when you listed the points at the end, like you listed them in detail. And that may be something that could have helped you with this issue. You could have had just 3 words for social media. It's beneficial for businesses because of profit, customers, yada yada. And then you could have talked about those a little bit more in the meat of your presentation. And then when you got to the conclusion, you could have just said those 3 words again. What do you think about that? I like that idea. That would have drawn us in a little bit more, maybe not feel as if you're being too repetitive. And one thing I'll add to that is or let me ask you this, how were you doing this presentation? Were you reading word for word? Okay, were you reading word for word?
Yes.
Okay, so I think, how did we like that? How did that help his performance tonight? Reading word for word, was that an effective choice?
It would have been for me, but honestly, with the repetitiveness, I think it's okay because based on the last class and the scale and when people drop off as far as their attention span, he may have had to repeat it because, you know, in the beginning or in the middle, probably lost a couple of people.
Okay, yeah, so it's valuable that I think he did. But I agree with the point that it could have been more concise and would have been powerful if it was more concise. And I think reading it word for word may have worked to his disadvantage. So first he reads us this complicated 3 points word for word, and then he does conclusion, and then reads us the same complicated points word for word. So, in general, I don't think reading word for word is the most effective way to reach your audience and persuade your audience. They want to hear from you, the expert who has thought about this, and what have you concluded? And I'm going to talk to you. I'm going to tell you, based on my expertise, based on who I am, based on my industry, and based on how it relates to you, I'm going to tell you. I'm just going to talk to you. I'm not reading word for word something that I looked up on wherever. And I'm not saying you looked it up on wherever. I think you just probably chose that way to make an effective presentation. But I feel like it would have been more powerful if you had used a little bit more of a casual tone. And if you had thought about how can I summarize these 3 points with just 3 words, then I think that would have made you feel more confident talking casually. What do you think? Okay. Good. Any other comments? There was a little bit of a kind of a pacing issue. Anyone notice it? He was kind of stepping forward a little bit here, and then he would step back and forward a little bit, and that can be distracting. And we'll think about how you can avoid that. And then just give us your casual words. All right. Good. Danilsa? Finish it up for us?
I don't want to go.
Oh.
Okay, my presentation is about which is the better way to travel by train or by plane. As you know, traveling by air is the fastest way to get from one place to another. This mode of transportation is convenient because people can buy airlines tickets online or by phone. However, getting to the airport could be very difficult because people must deal with a lot of traffic, long lines, and are subject to random searches. On the other hand, according to the New York Times, about 30 million people ride on Amtrak. For example, from New York to Washington, about 75% of travel goes by train. Based on my research, most of the time Amtrak offer fares cheaper than airlines. Today, more and more people are opting to travel by train because they save time and don't need to deal with TSA at the airport. People save money traveling by train because Amtrak provides inner city service. Amtrak allowed two